does a self-test.
So self-testing.
It doesn't need you to do anything up to this point. It's just an internal electronic self-test. Okay, so now it's going to walk us through all the connections step by step. Confirm water trap bottle, which is this little bottle here, and water separator cartridge, which is this little cartridge here, are in place. Connect the patient gas sample line to the sample line inlet port, which is here. Next. Connect the injector module cable and tubing to the injector module and the Iomax. So this is the injector module tubing, which is connected to the machine and to the injector module. This is the injector module cable connected to the machine and the injector module. Next. Verify main power supply indicator light is illuminated. This will run off batteries if it's not plugged in. So this is just to verify that it's getting power. Next. Load 2 Iomax cylinders onto cart. Check cylinder concentration and expiration date. We don't have a cart, we only have one cylinder. So just verify that you have the tank and that there's the expiration date, believe it or not, has one. Next. Connect the Iomax regulator to the Iomax cylinder. So that's the
Already done.
regulator that tightens onto the threads. Connect the Iomax regulator hose, which is the black hose, or sorry, the gray hose coming off of there. That gray hose to the inlet at the back of this. So that's here. There's 2 spots for it to go on, because it can take 2 tanks. Connect the InoBlender inlet hose to the Iomax DSIR blender gas outlet. So this guy here has a gray hose at the back. And then make sure it's connected. Only one place for it to go as well. Connect high pressure oxygen hose to the back of the blender and then to a 50 psi gas source. So because we're using the manifold, it's going into the manifold. The manifold is connected to the oxygen tank. Confirm that the infrared cable and transport regulator cap assembly is connected to the infrared cable inlet. So that cap has a black cable. Only one place for it to connect back here.
Show that again, Brian? One place to
Only one place for it to connect back there. Initial connection is complete. Verify the regulator is connected to the cylinder, which we already did, and the back of this, which we already did. Open and close the cylinder valve. And close. Verify cylinder pressure is at least 500.
Yep, 2000.
Next. Monitor the cylinder pressure gauge for 30 seconds. If no pressure decrease is observed, high pressure leak test is complete.
Okay, no question.
Not leaking?
Nope.
Next. Confirm the injector module is out of the patient breathing circuit. So it is not inside a patient breathing circuit. Press the next button to start purge. So what it's doing now is all the gas that's in this clear tubing is getting purged out. Automated purge complete. Now this is key. If you don't do this next step, it gets you really confused. Open cylinder valve. So turn on the tank. Next. Assemble pre-use setup connectors and tubing. This is where you want to pull up your picture. Now, this is where some people have been confusing themselves. Sorry.
You mean me.
Right away. Is they're connecting the hose, the oxygen tubing to there. Don't do that. In a way, you could use it for this purpose, but it's just too confusing. So from an oxygen flow meter, whether it's the wall source at the hospital or the nipple on the tank, connect that oxygen tubing to that source.
Just point to it, Matt. Where
So
it's
the nipple that's on the regulator of all of these tanks,
Yeah, no, it's the nipple.
the nipple.
Yeah.
Connect the oxygen tubing to that.
Okay. That's the confusing
And
part.
as you follow the picture, that tubing goes to this little guy here, which is, take that apart right there. You see that that goes into the module. So just get in there, as per the diagram. Now, you know the direction the gas is coming. It matches the arrow. right? So you know that's the right way. And then the other side goes to the rest of the setup, such that you have your sample line at the end. What this looks like doesn't really matter, as long as, like, you could just have that or you could just have that. The point is that it gives it space to mix before it gets to the sample line. So we've made it the way it shows us to. So you exit, set the O2 flow meter to 10 liters per minute on the tank. It only goes 8 and 15, 8 should work. Okay, next. Turn on integrated backup. Now, before I do that, I'm gonna make sure everybody understands what this is for. So think of the INOMAX system as having 3 ways to deliver nitric. The main way is when this machine is functioning properly, you can dial in your dose, it delivers it through the ventilator circuit. Second way you can deliver nitric is when you have to bag your patient, your bagger is connected to the blender. You set your PPM, you set your oxygen flow rate. If this electronic system fails, you can always deliver nitric by turning this on, and that will deliver it through the vent circuit, through the injector. Verify backup on, alarm occurs, backup on. Okay, next, log values to stabilize. So at 10 liters per minute, this should analyze between 14 and 26 parts per million. Because at 8, it might sit a bit higher, because this is dosing nitric at a fixed flow rate. So whatever your oxygen flow rate is will adjust the concentration of the nitric. And so if you're having to deliver through the vent circuit, this is going to fluctuate. But it's all going to fluctuate at a fairly high level. Patients are most susceptible to changes in nitric concentration when you're weaning down to really low levels. That's when they might have some reactive pulmonary vasospasm or arteriospasm. So at a high level, like fluctuating between 20 and 30 shouldn't be an issue for the pulmonary vasculature, okay? In this case, we're stabilizing in the range we want, between 14 and 26. Backup delivery test complete, turn integrated backup off. So verify the O2 flow meter is set to 10 liters per minute, which it is. This is gonna test the dosing system built into the head unit. Press next button to automatically set the INOMAX dose to 40 parts per million. So here again, at 10, it should sit between 35 and 45. Might sit a bit high because the flow rate is a bit lower than what it wants us to do. And you actually should be verifying that all of these are within the values it asks for. Your oxygen is between 92 and 98. Your nitrogen dioxide is less than 1.5, and your nitric sits between 35 and 45, which it is. Next. So here it says, performance test complete. INOMAX dose is returned to 0. I like to watch this fall just to make sure it is falling, because it's no longer dosing. The oxygen is bleeding, is purging what's left in the circuit. So it's falling. Turn the O2 flow meter off. Now, take the oxygen tubing off the tank. Nope, yeah, leave that connected the way it is. Take that off of there and connect it there. Remove the injector module from the pre-used setup and connect those pieces back together. Reconnect, connect. Nope. Take this out of the equation and connect the other parts. Yep.
Okay.
Now what we're going to test is the accuracy of this. Okay. Set the dose to 40 and the flow to 10. And this is the problem we remembered before. We have to switch the tank to auxiliary to get that oxygen flow, right? So that might mess you up if you're using the tank as your oxygen source for pre-use checkout, is you're gonna have to switch from the nipple to auxiliary so that it's coming out of here. So you can get around all that at the hospital by connecting to the wall. You can do everything off the wall. Either way. So we've done that 40 and 10. And then we want to see it sit between 32 and 48. So when are you using this?
Bagging.
Whenever you have to bag your patient. So let's say we're transporting our patient, our nitric's 20, we set it at 20. Whatever we're going to set our dosing to, we match on the blender. And then when you go to bag your patient, you got to turn this on. This is where your BDM should be set up, ready to go. Okay.
And then this goes on in your stack.
That's going to be in our, you're not going to be analyzing.
Oh, okay.
When you're bagging, you're not gonna be analyzing,
It's just, yeah, okay,
right? You're gonna trust that this is accurate.
gotcha. So
Because
it's just checking
the
that
T is back, is like a foot back from the Y in the vent circuit, right? You're not gonna take all that apart so you can analyze while you're bagging.
But you only get 20 when that's running at 10 liters, correct?
This is whatever you set it to.
Okay, so it doesn't matter that, if you set that to 6 liters because you're using a JR bag, you can still keep that. You'll still
Yeah,
get,
this will dose 20, whether it's at 8 liters, 10 liters, or 12
oh,
liters.
sure, okay,
Right? This will dose proportionally
Right.
to this flow. Yeah.
right.
And your main unit will also be reading what it's dosing, correct?
Not when you're bagging,
Okay,
right? Because
Right.
your sample T is back in your vent circuit.
because now you're bypassing the
You're
main
just, you've
unit.
disconnected the vent circuit from the patient, you're bagging on the ET tube.
Correct, okay, got it.
It's gonna be, you're just gonna trust that it is what it says it is, and you're not gonna be able to analyze.
Okay,
So turn the dose and flow to 0. I know blender test complete. So we tested the backup, we tested the head unit, and then we tested the blender, right? Pre-use procedure complete. So this means now that the system's ready to go, so now we're gonna wanna actually set up our vent circuit with it. But it's important to note that, let's say you do set this up here and you don't, before you deploy, if not starting therapy within 10 minutes, close the cylinder valve and depressurize the regulator. So there's 2 ways to depressurize. The easiest is just to loosen the regulator off, bleed it at that end, and then re-tighten it. There is a way to do it back here by disconnecting this hose. Are you off? You turned it the wrong way.
Yeah, it's off.
So you can bleed it back here as well. Okay, next. So now that it shows us the pretty picture, it's ready to go. So what we'll do is we'll put this on the mount and we'll set the circuit up.
okay, I'm gonna end it there because I think everybody knows how to set up a circuit.
Everybody happy with the circuit setup? So the difference being,
This guy's coming out of.
you're gonna put it here. So right now, because we're not using the new humidifier, you can put your filter, your elbow, and this guy.
Let's just do that. So filter. Elbow.
So yeah. So put the filter on, and then the elbow.
And they're all
Yes, I'll-
together.
You'll need some
already.
Lego. Yep, that's right. No, skip that part for now. Just like that.
That's bag number 1.
No, that filter won't work. Oh, because this is the.
That's backwards.
Yeah.
I'm gonna run some of this stuff back to the pictures.
Yeah, that end goes in.
About 5
That
minutes.
should go in the hole.
Sounds good.
Is it loose?
Yeah, it's loose.
Okay, then, yeah,
So you need to let go of it.
it, helping. I really need to watch
that onto there.
Oh,
No,
no, you go ahead.
the 22 onto here. Oh, 22, the big one.
There.
Yep, that goes on the filter.
There you go, yeah. Okay.
And then you'll need that piece for this to go on.
Gotcha, so Lego, okay.
Lots of Lego.
There's only one way it goes on anyway with the Lego, right?
Yeah, you gotta
Yeah.
figure it out. You can also put the,
But that is in the back, the instructions for
Yeah.
that is in.
you can also move the
Pre-made
elbow
circuits.
before the filter,
Hmm.
so it's less torque on here. By
Okay,
the time you put your second tubing on, it'll sit together.
and then your circuit just goes on
Then your
there.
circuit, it'll be your
Everything else
blue
is,
tubing.
everything else is identical.
Okay, and then I'm gonna end it there. Okay, the end. Thank you, Brian.
I just want to take a picture.